So we have two questions for you. One from Ilaha. Are you there? You can ask the question. Unmute yourself.
Hi, my question is about labeling. Is the labeling done manually, or is it a kind of software to compare the tweet with fake and true news and label it? It is done manually.
The label, most of those data sets that you will find online are publicly available. They are always initially labeled manually, because you must be, especially the ones that are tackling, content based. They need someone to verify if that information, which category it would fall, So in our case, we followed that, but we didn't very much like our goal in the end is not to do the content base. It's to manually label some of the data set with specialists. So there are methodologies that you have to follow in order to do something like this, to do a label manually. And then our idea is to do semi-supervised classification. So the labeling of the remaining posts will be done based on what we did initially, which was manual. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Cool.
Thank you.
There is another one, Puna.
Yes.
Here.
Vana, would you like to ask yourself, or should I read your question?
Is that for me, Puna? Yeah, so I was just kind of thinking about the methodology you probably used to kind of get the classification labels. So was that kind of a topping modeling approach that you used using the LDA method? Was that something you had used, or was there anything else for that particular task? Were they like classification tags or something that were, previously used to classify, and then you ran like a classification model to see what class the tweets fell under? Was that something you had done?
We are doing that now, So we finished the data processing, which was the data labeling. So we labeled a few tweets manually, and then we are doing the classification part as we speak now. So the classification will be done. We will build a machine learning model, but it's based on semi-supervised. So it's the new way people are doing most of the a lot of classification tasks. They can fall within semi-supervised, which is basically you have around up to 30% of your data set which has label. Those labels were described, and then you would have the remaining instances. They would be labeled through the classification process. So the classification model, we are building it as we speak now.
Thank you, Marjory. Lubina, does Marjory answer your question, or do you have any follow-up question now?
No, yeah, that's fine. Thank you. Thank you, Marjory.
Thank you. So now our next...
No problem.
Our next question is from Dana. Dana, would you like to ask yourself now?
Yeah, so Marjorie, have you tried looking at whether categories or labels support each other in driving retweets? For example, if you have a couple of posts about coronavirus, and then you have a couple of non-news, or however you call them, and maybe some other post from a political figure or something like that, do they support each other, driving more retweets?
That's a very interesting question, Dana. Thank you. We actually started to see that. I don't know if you are all familiar with Twitter. You can do lines of thought. I don't know how to translate that, but it's like when you post several tweets one after the other, the same person posting. and then you have a sequence of posts. So we can quite easily identify that. Not so much in the posts in the UK, but we can identify, we are starting to see, we didn't run any experiments on that yet, but we started to see just from looking at the database that you can see correlation. I don't know if there will be causality, but there is a correlation between some, especially when you have political figures and then mal-information, you know, there is a correlation there. But yeah, we are working on it. But yeah, it's quite clear there is a correlation there.
Yeah. Cool, thank you.
Thank you, Marjory. Does anyone have any other question? Feel free to ask, unmute yourself and ask question. So,
Excuse me, what are the features for each tweet that you do the classification based on that?
We have several features, so I won't know them by heart, but we have like mentions, hashtags, emojis, if there are emojis or not, and what kind of emojis. If there is any, the retweets itself, you know, the amount of retweets. And then we are exploring the possibility of including features related to the network of the user. So how many friends, or, you know, these kind of things. But those are information about the tweet, about the account, but not necessarily about the content inside the tweet, you know. Later, we might want to include some words, some specific words, extra words apart from the ones that we use to download the tweets. Because as I said, we wanted, the main goal of this project is to do something that would be language independent. And then in order to do that, we have to have something that is completely independent. So we could use COVID-19 because that is COVID-19 anywhere in the world. We could use coronavirus, even though in some countries we have a tiny difference, because virus in Portuguese, for instance, has an accent, but in English it's almost the same word. Well, if we wanted to use something like vaccine, for instance, I guess vaccine will have different words regardless of the language. So we have the idea for us, the features for the classification will be always related with date, you know, period the tweet was posted, if it was morning, afternoon, evening, middle of the night, number of shares, number of hashtags, if there was emoji or not, if there was a link or not. So those were the features that these are the features that we are exploring for the classification.
Thank you.